You could meet the IRS substantial presence test, spend months in America, and still not be a US tax resident. But only if you do this one thing correctly. If you are an expat, a frequent business traveler, or a snowbird, you need to know about Form 8840. Form 8840 is officially known as the Closer Connection Exception Statement for aliens. Failing to file Form 8840 could mean the Internal Revenue Service treats your global income as taxable in the United States. Today, we're breaking down the Closer Connection exception so you can keep your tax home where it belongs. So, what is Form 8840? Form 8840 is officially known as the Closer Connection Exception Statement for aliens. Usually, the Internal Revenue Service uses the substantial presence test to decide if you are a resident for U.S. tax purposes. The substantial presence test is a formula that counts your days in the United States over a 3-year period. So here how it works. All your days in the current year is counted. 1/3 of your days from last year and 1/6 of your days from the year before. If the total of these 3 years hits 183 days, you are technically a US resident for tax purposes because you meet the substantial presence test. Form 8840, the Closer Connection Exception Statement for aliens, is your get out of jail free card. It allows you to prove that even though you spent time in the United States, your heart, your life, and your taxes truly belong to another country. So, who qualifies to claim or file the Form 8840, the Closer Connection Exception Statement for aliens? You can't just claim a closer connection because you want to. To qualify for the exception, you must meet 3 strict criteria. Number 1 is the day limit. You must have spent fewer than 183 days in the United States during the current calendar year. Number 2 criteria, the tax home. You must maintain a tax home in a foreign country for the entire year. This is generally the area where you work or permanently live. And the number 3 strict criteria is that you are no green card intent. You cannot have applied for or taken steps toward becoming a lawful permanent resident, what we call the green card holder. Now that we know the 3 criteria that we needed to meet before you are eligible to claim this closer connection exception statement for aliens, we need to now know and understand what counts as a closer connection. So the Internal Revenue Service looks at significant contacts. When you fill out the Part 4 of the form, they are going to ask you a series of personal questions to see where your life is actually centered. This is where you're going to provide the reason why you can claim this exception. So the common factors include the family location. Where do your spouse and children live? Another one is, where is your permanent home? Where is your main residence, owned or rented, available at all times? Another factor could be your personal property. Where are your cars, furniture, and personal belongings kept? Another factor would be your social and financial ties. Where is your bank account? Where are you registered to vote? Where was your driver's license issued? So those are the common factors that the Internal Revenue Service will be looking into, and you needed to fill out part 4 of the form answering the questions related to these common factors. Let's have a look at the real world example. Let's look at an Australian consultant who flies to the United States frequently for client meetings. In 2025, he spent 150 days in the US. Because of his visits in 2024 and 2023, he triggered the substantial presence test. However, his business is registered in Australia, his family remains in Sydney, and he keeps his primary bank accounts and voting registration in Australia. It's most likely that he will be able to claim the closer connection test because he was staying in the US for less than 183 days during the current year. His tax home is in Australia, and he has not applied for or taken steps toward becoming a green card holder. So by filing Form 8840, he effectively telling the IRS that he is just a visitor. His closer connection is to Australia, and he avoid being taxed by the United States on his global income. He is going to file a non-resident tax return, and he is going to be reporting his US source income. So what are the common mistakes? The biggest mistake is not filing at all. It's missing the filing deadline. If you're filing a tax return, now, for example, this Australian consultant that we just discussed earlier on, he needs to file Form 1040-NR, and he needs to attach the Form 8840 to that Form 1040-NR. If he don't need to file a return, he still had to mail the Form 8840 to the Internal Revenue Service by the due date, typically June 15, if he is residing outside the United States, or April if he is in the United States, to keep their non-resident status. Another common mistake is inconsistency. You must ensure your answers on your Form 8840 must match other official documents like your W-8 BEN that you provided to your payer. The 183-day hard cap is one of the common mistakes. Remember, if you spend more than 183 days in the United States in a single year, Form 8840 is no longer an option because you did not meet the number 1 criteria, the day limit. You spent more than 183 days in the United States. It disqualifies you to use Form 8840, but you can check your tax treaty if your country that you are a resident has tax treaty with the United States, and assess if you're able to claim tax treaty position to be treated as a non-resident in your tax return. Navigating U.S. tax residency is complicated and the stakes are high. If you get this wrong, you could face dual taxation or significant penalties. Get clarity. If you're unsure whether you qualify or need help filing, don't guess. Book a closer connection clarity call with our team. Send an email to hello@usautax.com to get started. Don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful and subscribe for more cross-border tax tips. Please note, disclaimer, this video is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal or tax advice. Please consult with a qualified tax professional regarding your specific situation. Till next time.